Hello, friends. We are so excited to learn more about Avodah today. So our amazing Orthodox social justice community can learn more about this great work at Avodah and how you can tap in. If you're not familiar, Avodah develops lifelong social justice leaders whose work is informed by Jewish values and who inspire the Jewish community to work toward a more just and equitable world. So what does that look like? Avodah runs the Jewish Service Corps, an annual year-long program that places young Jewish adults at leading anti-poverty nonprofits in Chicago, New Orleans, New York, Washington, D.C., and San Diego. And in addition to their work with their assigned nonprofits, Jewish Service Corps members live and learn together in a supportive, pluralistic community at the crossroads of justice and Jewish life. Avodah is also running Chicago and Kansas City cohorts of the Justice Fellowship, in which fellows explore justice, Jewish life, and the powerful intersections between the two. Avodah recently established the Avodah Institute for Social Change, which is designed to train Jewish leaders from across the Jewish professional sector in social change work and transform the culture of American Jewish life. So we are fortunate today to have the great Cheryl Cook here with us. With close to 30 years experience working across the Jewish community, Cheryl is passionate about developing the next generation of Jewish social justice leaders. Cheryl has overseen some of the organization's most successful national growth strategies, including the expansion of leadership programs to new cities, the creation of innovative models to elevate Jewish justice voices, and bringing educational resources and conversations into the Jewish community to strengthen Avodah's work on poverty and social justice in the United States. Prior to coming to Avodah and serving as CEO of Avodah, Cheryl served for 9 years as the Chief Operating Officer at Hazon, where she played a vital role in guiding the organization through an era of significant growth. She has worked across the Jewish community for her career at Jesna, New Israel Fund, Hillel of Greater Philadelphia, and at the 92nd Street. She has participated in the Sela Leadership Program, Advancing Women Professionals Action Learning Team, and the Institute for Jewish Executive Leadership. Cheryl is an active member of her congregation, Beit Elohim, CBE, and serves on the board of JPRO and the leadership team of the Jewish Social Justice Roundtable. She holds an MA from Jewish Theological Seminary, an MS in Social Work from Columbia University, and a BA from the University of Wisconsin. Cheryl lives in Brooklyn, New York, with her spouse and 2 children, and in her free time, she can be found cycling around Prospect Park or playing board games with her family. Cheryl Cook, thank you so much for taking time to talk.
It's a pleasure. I think what you can tell from my bio is I'm old. I've been doing this work for a long time.
We love it. We love it, and we just want our Orthodox world to know, who already are not tapped in, to know about the great things you're doing over there. And if we can just jump in, what are some of your own Jewish traditions or Jewish texts or Jewish motivations to be doing this work you do?
Sure. I mean, I really want to say I was raised in deep Jewish community. I grew up outside of Detroit and I went to day school. I went to Jewish camp. My family was very involved in our synagogue. My mom was president of our synagogue. So I come from this long line of people, really, my whole family really involved in Jewish community. And so I really, when I think about it, it really is my parents. I know that is a cliche answer, but my parents were incredible role models for me, and just making sure that I was involved in Jewish communities, saw what was possible, what kind of community did I want to create, and helped get me there, gave me the tools, the text, the background, the learning, so that I feel like I can step in and help create the kind of community, strengthen our community. I love the Jewish community and I really want to strengthen it. And there's a lot of texts I love. So it's always fun to talk about that. I think one of my favorite texts is actually a text that is really about your inside matching your outside. I know there's this wonderful text about a bet midrash and can people, right, who's let in, do your insides match your outsides, and you're let in if your insides do match your outsides, and then eventually it's opened up to everyone as leadership passes. And I love both of those ideas of how do we create the kind of spaces in the Jewish community where our insides match our outsides, what's that really look like in terms of living our values? But also, how do we create spaces where we allow everyone to have space to step in and explore all of that? That there's not a test that you have to pass to actually step into any kind of space, but that there's an openness to a curiosity, come in and learn. And as we learn and as we all learn together, we can actually continue to grow as individuals, grow as a community, and grow as people. So I really love those ideas, and I really grapple with both of those all the time.
I love it. I love it. And as a parent, I can't imagine a few things that would make me prouder than my child saying that it's my parents who put me on this path to love Judaism and love justice and to be doing this work in the world. So I'm sure they have had a lot of nachas from you. So, you know, on this side of the inside, this point of the inside and the outside, which I just love, we think a lot at Orthodox about the relationship between learning and service, between our spirituality and our justice work, between our Torah and our street activism. And I wonder, how do you think about the relationship between those two, the impact of how they inform one another?
Yeah. I mean, I really want to say, I think it's crucial. I see in a lot of our community, the separation of all of that, where you're spiritual over here, you're doing action over here, you're at home over here. And I think so much of the way I think about the world, and certainly Avodah approaches the world too, is that we're all holistic people, and we have to bring our whole selves to everything we do. And our whole selves means our spirituality. It means our activism. It means, right, if I care, and I do very deeply, about my local community and what's going on, that is, I have to think about, well, what's that mean? How do I step in? What's it mean to step in as a Jew? How are my Jewish values informing it? Because I really believe they do. And I think in so many spaces, I see Jews showing up all over the place for justice work, but not as Jews. And what we're thinking about at Avodah, and I think it aligns with what you're talking about with Ori Litzedek. And let me step back and say I'm a huge fan. Happy to talk about that separately. But what I really see is really bringing our full selves to the table. How do we bring all of those pieces together? And at Avodah, it even means that when we think about how we want to make a difference in the world, we want to figure out what lights us, what sets fire, what keeps me up at night. And then how do I step forward to do that? What are all the ways to move forward and take on work that I can actually create change around? And how do I do that as part of a community? And how do I get nourished as part of that? And so a lot of the Jewish piece of that is being in community, and the nourishment of Shabbat every week, the nourishment of thinking about how we can continue to move forward. And I have friends who I can talk to about this work because they're also involved in it, and we can all move forward together. So that is a lot of how I think about the work, and certainly how we approach it at Avodah.
I love it. I love it. So, so central to your work is anti-poverty, anti-poverty work. And I wonder if you can share a little bit about some of the guiding philosophies or the guiding strategies as to how you understand we can best combat poverty in America.
I think that a first step is to really be proximate to the issues that are going on. So I am a huge fan of Brian Stevenson. If you don't know him, you should all read his work. He talks a lot about proximity to issues of suffering. And I think in terms of poverty, we know that there's so much suffering. And poverty touches everything, right? We think about people who are homeless, or people who are hungry, or people who don't have basic access to healthcare, right? There's so many layers of poverty, and any issue that's going on for all of us, like COVID, this world we're living in, poverty just makes everything so much harder. And it's really hard when you're sitting in a seat and your seat is not one where you're experiencing poverty, to actually try to stand in someone else's shoes. And so our first work, and the reason we run a service corps, is we want people to be proximate to the kinds of issues that people are dealing with. We think that it just expands our worldview. And it's not, I want to say, we talk about service, but it's not service where I, Cheryl, am going in to help someone else and I'm going to make their life all better. It really is about partnership. It really is about seeing having someone else teach me, show me what are the challenges, what are all the issues. We really believe that the people who are experiencing poverty actually can tell us much better than I can from afar what the issues are, how they're dealing with it, how there might be change. And then I can be a partner to them in helping to create change. So in learning about and spending a year in Avodah, people learn about issues of, people who are homeless. What are all the challenges going on for them? And then what we want and what we expect is that people will take that knowledge and use it in their lives, whether they work with people who are homeless, whether they think about workplace development, whether they get involved in policy, and really help create changes on a structural level. Our goal is for everybody to take the issues they're learning about and have it fire them for their lives. And that proximity to people who are really experiencing some of these challenges are going to fire us all for the rest of our lives. And it does. Yeah. And it does. Yeah. And that's what's exciting about this.
I love that. That was so well said. I was really turned on, among many other blessings in my life, through many experiences with American Jewish World Service in the Global South. Like a dozen different villages I was a student in or staffed in. And I was disappointed when their board made the decision some years ago that they were going to kind of cut these service learning programs because it didn't translate into enough effective change for combating poverty in the Global South. And yet I understood it. Their calculation was, if we want to eradicate poverty in the Global South, and the people we're training to be leaders are not necessarily being transformed in a way that it is translating to eradicating poverty, we got to cut that program and reinvest in different ways. And I wonder, in your own work, not to in any ways compare those because they're very different, but in your work, how do you think about the kind of the return on the dollar or the investment in young Jewish leaders as 5 years, 10 years, 20 years later, being an effective investment in combating poverty in America?
I will tell you that the biggest number that I look at when I think about impact of Avodah is what percentage of people who come out of Avodah are working in anti-poverty social change work. And our numbers are 85% right now.
Wow.
And we are just doing measurement of our alumni again. We just sent out a survey and we're just looking at the data right now. But I could guess that the other 15%, because I know many of them are involved in boards, are involved in other ways in change work that aren't direct work on the ground. That 85%, those are people who are committing their lives as Jews to creating change. And that is the return that I'm looking for. I am looking for people to commit their lives to creating change in our country and to commit their lives as Jews. And I believe that every person that comes through Avodah plays a role in influencing other people. So I have two stories on that. One is someone like Jessica Schaefer. She is running highest in Chicago. She came through Avodah. She was living in Montreal at the time. She decided she wanted to do something. She was actually the last person to sign up for Avodah the year she signed up. And there was one job left in Chicago and it was on resettlement. She ended up moving to Chicago. She took that placement. She ended up falling in love with resettlement work, actually meeting her partner, and now is running highest in Chicago. To me, that is a huge win. It's not just about Jessica and her own transformation, although that is real. It is also about all of the people she's touched over time, the kind of leadership that she exudes. To me, that's the kind of work that we're trying to do. And then the second story is actually about someone who just went through our Justice Fellowship. That is a learning program. It's a cohort for people already working in the world. Some people are not ready to take a year off, come move into communal living. It's an amazing program, but that's not for everyone. So it's an opportunity to just be in community together and to be nourished. And I just met with a parent of someone who went through our Justice Fellowship. And she said to me that as her daughter was in the Justice Fellowship, her daughter was telling her about the conversations they were having. And it really helped their families start to have conversations around the same kind of issues and help them move their philanthropy in different ways. That's huge impact. That is not just impact on the person that was in the program, but on her family system, then on the places that her family is giving to. That to me is what's so exciting about this kind of model.
Amazing, amazing. Okay, last question for you. although I know we've touched on this, but if I'm listening to this right now, how can I tap in? Either myself as a young Jewish adult, or the parent of a young Jewish adult, or the grandparent of a young Jewish adult. How concretely can I engage in Avodah programs?
Great. So first, check out the Jewish Service Corps. There are lots of ways to get involved in service, but there are not so many Jewish ways to get involved in service. And for young adults who are 21 to 26, we run a Jewish Service Corps every year. It's an 11-month program in 5 cities. It's exceptional. It's exciting. We want you. We want you. We want you to check it out. You're a parent, you're a grandparent, send it to your kids or grandkids. You're a young adult, you're in college, check it out. We have a recruiter. She will talk to you. She will connect you to people in the program. This is an exciting time in a great way. If you're in Kansas City or Chicago and this program is going to scale, we also run our Justice Fellowship, and that is a way to get involved in community. We actually just kicked it off. It's already started. So that's for next year. But those are ways to get involved in the Avodah community. And by the way, if you go through our programs, you're involved for life. And the last thing is we are starting to train up cohorts of Jewish professionals in social justice. We're kicking it off. We actually are announcing this today. So fresh off the press, with a Hillel cohort, our Institute for Social Change is kicking off with a cohort of Hillel directors to support them in how to create change in their own Hillels and how to think about justice as a Jewish value. And so we're going to be continuing to build out cohorts. And I'd love to think with anyone who wants to be creative about what kind of cohorts we should be creating. If you run an institution, if you're part of an institution, if you work in the Jewish community, I'd love to think with you about how we could do this with you and your institution in a way that benefits the work you're trying to do. Those are 3 ways.
Amazing, amazing, so articulate. Friends, please join Avodah's mailing list, check out their website, follow the great, humble, courageous leadership of Cheryl Cook, and really, Cheryl, continue all your amazing work. Thanks so much for this time.
And I'm such a fan. Thank you so much for giving me this time. It's really a pleasure.
Thank you so much.